admit, one of my favorite things to paint are custom case inserts for my iPhone. There's just something about it that I love to be able to change it out and whatnot. I make them for myself, friends, and families. I even made this one for my husband last year. My mother-in-law just recently got a new iPhone and she's asked me to make a custom case insert for her. So I've taken a clear case of her iPhone and then I've traced around it for a template and then made multiple sets of that template. I decided to make the Pacific Coast Highway. It's one of her favorite landmarks and she's moving away from California soon. Now we trace. I have this very cheap light box that does the trick, and I have accidentally used this for testing markers. So, oh well. We're just going to ignore that and just place the watercolor paper on top and just do the best we can. I mainly wanted to use this just so I can get the placement of the mountains right. Now, a light box isn't mandatory. You can also use transfer paper, which can be a little messy, or you can just use it as a direct reference and try to copy it. Alright, not too bad for my first time drawing this landscape, so I'm quite happy with it, and now it's time to paint. I'm going to roll up some painter's tape and place it on the back of the case insert and just slap it on a slab of cardboard and we're ready to paint. Now, this is my awesome custom art box that I have my watercolors in, and we're going to activate them with water to get the most saturation of the colors. Now, using colors of yellow and gray, we are going to make the light and the shadows. This is what's going to be called an underpainting. This is not mandatory, this is optional, but it does give a subdued hint of different shading in your painting overall. Now, once that is good and dry, we're going to start on the first layer of colors for the sky. Now, the thing about watercolor, it's about patience and a lot of layering and a lot of blending. So this is going to take some time to do. You also want to start from back to front and work in sections. It does make the process a little easier. Now you will start to notice some curving of the paper because of all the water it's absorbed, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue because you can add a little bit more tape to tape it back down, but there is going to be slight curving in the final product. Now we will have something to help with that a little later in this video. Now, like I said, this project does take time. In fact, this project took me about 3 days to finish, and that's from trimming the case inserts to the final paint stroke. For me personally, I like to take a couple of days to complete a project rather than trying to rush it and get it completed in one sitting, but that's my personal preference. Also, make sure that your layer is completely dry before adding another one. It just starts to make it a little messy and a little waterlogged. Also, I would recommend not to work on an area too much, otherwise the water will reactivate the layer below and causing that sort of same problem. Like I said, this case insert is for my mother-in-law, and I cannot express what an amazing person she is. She is so heartfelt, so generous, and has been such a positive influence in my life. I really can't tell you how grateful I am for her. Now we're wrapping up with the watercolor section, and it's looking pretty good, but we're not done yet. So we're going to put away my watercolor box and get out my Himi gouache set. Himi gouache set is really good for supplementing with watercolor because gouache is a cousin to watercolor. It's just a little bit more opaque, but it's still water-based. Don't judge my jelly cups. I know they're not pretty, but they're still activated by water, so look shouldn't matter. I mix the colors how I want, and then get started on the clouds. Now, this sort of cloud can be achieved in watercolor. I just have a lot of trouble with it, and I need to practice with my gouache more anyway. Now, the clouds are still looking a little flat, so I'm going to try a technique to try to make them a little bit more dimensional. For those who don't know, orange and purple are complementary colors, which means that when you blend them, they can kind of look a little muddy or gray, which is what I'm hoping to achieve here. So I'm using orange as a rim light, and then I'm going to blend it up to the purple giving it more of a dimensional look. Once we're done with the clouds, we're going to paint the bridge in that nice cream color, paint the road in that nice gray color, paint the grass in that nice green color. Now we're done with painting. Get that out of here. That was a little too violent. And then we're going to finally finish off with some color pencils. And color pencils are a lovely supplement for watercolor. They can give you a little bit more depth, and they can kind of make your painting look a little bit more interesting. Now for this piece, I'm only using 2 colors, and I'm not going to oversaturate it into my painting. I think it could take away from the paint itself. And also, I don't suggest pressing too hard because it can ruin the texture of the watercolor paper. And here is the finished case insert. I am so happy how well it turned out in the end. Now, you're going to take your handy dandy heavy book, place the painting in the back of it, and place parchment paper on top of it to prevent it from sticking to the book, and let it press for a couple of days to flatten it.
2 weeks later.
Here is Margarita. This is what I did. I did the Pacific Coast Highway for you.
Love it. Oh, nice.